to answer a question, was Living in Oblivion played on MTV? Yes, it was, but for a very short time until that other remix came out, and then that killed it. Which I think is a good time to talk about that. Shall we? Talk about remixes? Why not? Well, when it comes to Living in Oblivion, the one that you guys know from the radio, the one that kind of sounds like The Never-Ending Story, I hate that mix. I've always hated that mix. I can't stand it. I will never play it. I can't stand to even listen to it on the radio. Whenever it's on, I turn it off. But if you want to know why, it's because at that time, remixes were mandated. In other words, the record company said, we're going to get a remix done, and we were never asked what type of mix, what we would want on it, how we would want it. And when I heard it, I was appalled, quite frankly. To use my Jersey accent, I was appalled. I hated it, but I couldn't stop it. And because of that mix, every station that was on the alternative side of things, with the exception of WLIR, because they continued to play the song in both its different forms, but all the stations that were on the alternative side of things immediately dropped the song. So where we wanted to be, where we saw ourselves, we were cut off. And suddenly we were in the pop world, which we really didn't understand or want to be in. So that's one of those things that happens, unfortunately. But I know you guys like it, and I know that people do like that mix, and, you know, more power to you. But if you're ever expecting to see that version live, there ain't a prayer in the world that's going to get me to do it. In fact, I don't think that out of the three of us, none of us liked it. And we sometimes disagreed on a lot of things, but that was one thing we were like, no, what did they do? But the remix that you heard earlier of Beat of Life, that was done by, I think that was Danny Tenaglia. And that one I did like, but that's because he consulted. And so we had that consultation, you know, like, yeah, do a little bit more house or go backwards, you know, do this. So it was a bit more of give and take. So even though the mix was very commercial for its time, in my view, we liked it because it was at least within the grasp of where we were going with it. Another remix that I've really liked a lot was the Twitch remix of Where's Love and Happiness. That was another one that I really loved, the remix. But not so for Living in Oblivion, I'm sorry. But I do have a remix of Living in Oblivion that we did, which I may play. Let me see. Let me see if I can. Sorry about that. That's the remix. No, I'm kidding. Yes, everything's on. If you joined us at 8, you missed something. Oh, well. But this version of Living in Oblivion was done with only 3 instruments. And it was one of those things. We just heard the remix that we just talked about, and I didn't like it. And I was like, I want to do one. And they're like, we can't get you the vocals on time. And which is another BS story, because come on, let's face it, it was bullshit. They could have given me the vocals, but they didn't want to. And they insisted that because they couldn't get the vocals to me, that I wouldn't be able to submit this remix. So I was really mad. So then I pulled a Claude and I called them up and I said, hey, I figured it out. It's an instrumental. And they're like, what? Like, yeah, I still want the remix on the 12-inch, but it's an instrumental. We don't need the vocals. And they didn't like that very much, but they really couldn't get out of it without me really raising hell. So they said, okay, all right, okay, we will allow you to have this remix. And I gave them the craziest, funniest thing that I could put on that 12-inch to piss them off. And this is that mix from the vinyl. So that was that. And just so that you know, that was some of the footage that was in there was from the studio in Fullerton. There was a little bit of footage from us meeting a fan in the New York subway, and we decided to record a weird version of Living in Oblivion there for the fan. Just a lot of really oddball things. I found that mix actually on YouTube of all places, and because I don't have the 12-inch, so I had to find a good recording of it, and I found one, and I was really happy about that. So I nabbed it, and I have not remastered it or, fixed it up in any way, but I will, because I think I'm going to add that to a little something I'm planning for you guys.